Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're digging into something huge, something affecting so many families. This really remarkable surge in childhood ADHD diagnoses.
It's definitely a topic on a lot of people's minds.
Right. We're talking attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. And the numbers, they're pretty stark. Get this. 1 million more American kids diagnosed just between 2016 and 2022.
That brings the total to 7.1 million children in the U.S.
Which is more than 1 in 9 kids. It's a staggering jump. And it immediately begs the question, are we seeing a true epidemic here, or are we just getting better at spotting something that was maybe always present?
Well, what's really interesting, and kind of adds another layer, is that this isn't just an American thing.
Oh, really?
No. If you look globally, Sweden, for instance, saw diagnoses jump by 50% in just 3 years, from 2019 to 2022.
50%? Wow.
Yeah. And what's particularly concerning is that the biggest increases seem to be happening in the youngest kids.
Mm-hmm.
And, genetics just don't shift that fast across whole populations.
Wait, that wouldn't make sense.
Exactly. So it strongly suggests there are significant environmental triggers at play, things changing how kids' brains are developing.
Okay, so let's unpack that. If it's environmental, what's the research pointing to? What are the biggest drivers here?
Well, one connection that keeps coming up, and it's hard to ignore, is screen time.
Ah, the screen time debate.
There was a major Canadian study, quite revealing actually. It found that kids spending more than 2 hours a day on screens had a 7.7 times higher chance of meeting the criteria for ADHD.
7.7 times. That's not a small correlation. That's massive.
It's huge. And it leads to the next question. Why? Why are screens having such a big impact?
Yeah, what's the mechanism there?
A lot of it seems to be about how these platforms, especially social media, are designed. They use principles, very similar to gambling, actually. Intermittent rewards,
And
little dopamine hits.
Keeping you hooked.
Exactly. It basically trains the developing brain to expect constant, fast-paced stimulation. And that makes things that require sustained focus, like reading a chapter or working through a math problem, feel incredibly slow and boring by comparison.
So it's not just a distraction, it's almost like rewiring expectations.
Precisely. It changes how the brain expects to engage with information. It primes it for quick hits rather than deep focus.
Which, long term, that sounds worrying for skills needing sustained effort. Okay, so screens are clearly a big piece of this puzzle. But you mentioned other environmental factors. It sounds like more than just screens.
Oh, definitely. Screens are part of what some are calling a sort of perfect storm of modern childhood.
A perfect storm. What else is brewing in it?
Well, think about academic pressure. It's starting so much younger now. Kindergarten often looks like what first grade used to be. Less time for free play.
And play is important for development, right? Not just fun.
Crucial. Especially unstructured outdoor play. Kids today get about 50% less of that than their parents did. Just imagine a typical Saturday now versus 30 years ago. Big difference.
Yeah, definitely.
Then add in widespread sleep problems.
Mm-hmm.
Kids just aren't getting enough sleep, and lack of sleep can mimic or worsen ADHD symptoms. And we also have to consider environmental toxins, things like lead exposure, pesticides. They've been linked too.
And the pandemic probably didn't help any of this.
No, the COVID pandemic certainly seemed to accelerate many of these trends. More screen time, disrupted routines, increased stress.
Okay, so we have this storm of environmental factors potentially driving new issues. But there's another side to these numbers, isn't there? It's not all new cases.
That's a really important point. Yes,
Yeah.
We are getting better at recognizing ADHD, especially in groups where it was historically missed.
Like girls.
Exactly. Girls often present with more inattentive symptoms, not the classic hyperactivity, so they were often overlooked. The same goes for many minority children. So improved recognition is definitely part of the increase.
But that leads to a tricky question.
Right. If we're getting better at spotting it, but we also have these environmental pressures, are we potentially starting to overdiagnose? Are we sometimes labeling normal childhood energy, or maybe even reactions to stress, as ADHD?
That's a fine line to walk.
It really is. Because missing a genuine diagnosis can cause huge problems for a child down the line. But on the other hand, putting a child on powerful medication unnecessarily carries its own serious risks. It's a real challenge for clinicians.
So for parents listening, maybe feeling concerned or confused, what does all this mean for you? What are the practical takeaways here?
I think the first thing is trust your gut. If you're worried about your child's attention or behavior, Seek a good, thorough evaluation from a professional.
One that looks at the whole picture.
Yes, exactly. Not just a quick checklist. Someone who considers the child's environment, sleep, school situation, everything. And, crucially, consider trying environmental or behavioral changes before immediately jumping to medication, if appropriate.
What kind of changes are we talking about?
Things that address those factors we discussed. Setting clear limits on screen time, especially before bed. Really prioritizing a consistent sleep schedule, making sure there's time for outdoor play and physical activity every day. Creating calm, predictable routines at home.
Simple things, but potentially powerful.
Sometimes these changes can make a really significant difference in improving focus and reducing challenging behaviors, maybe even enough to avoid medication or to use it more effectively if it is needed.
So to wrap up then, this ADHD explosion, it seems real. The numbers are undeniable. But it's complex, partly better recognition, partly this perfect storm of modern life. But it's not necessarily inevitable.
That's the key takeaway, I think. We can't change a child's genetic predisposition if one exists. But we do have tremendous power to modify these environmental triggers.
By making conscious choices about their environment.
Exactly. Reevaluating screen habits, prioritizing sleep, ensuring playtime. These aren't small things when it comes to brain development and focus. They can make a real, tangible difference.
So, a final thought for everyone listening. The future of our children's attention in many ways is in our hands. How will you choose to use that power?